again. This is Dr. Keith Henry with another quick Wellness News Nugget. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. This is the 30th of October 2019, and we have another interesting quick Wellness News Nugget. And this is from Green Med Info. If you haven't listened before, I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I do quick Wellness News Nuggets that have come out during the week within the last 7 days. Oftentimes the same day that the article has come out. This article came out on yesterday, October 29th. When I give these articles, I give a quick Wellness News Nugget, and I give my perspective simply as a natural practitioner. Just give my thoughts and my perspective on it. I try to keep these articles between 5 and 7 minutes. Sometimes they go a little longer. This one is entitled Brain Regeneration, Why It's Real and How to Do It. Brain Regeneration, Why It's Real and How to Do It. Very interesting article from greenmedinfo.health. And it basically starts off by talking about for a long, long time, there was this concept that once brain cells are dead, they can never be regenerated. But science has changed the perspective on this, and it took a while because once these things get ingrained into science, it's hard for people to change. It's hard for them to admit they may have made a mistake. And so this article starts off by saying, have you ever wished you could regenerate those brain cells you sacrificed in college? Do you feel that your aging brain is in a perpetual state of decline? Medical science is being rewritten to show that we can improve the health of our brain, and that repairing damage is not only possible, it's something anyone can do. And then it goes on to point out, as I just said, that it is a commonly held misconception that the brain is beyond repair. It says that even the medical establishment has asserted that once we kill brain cells, they are gone forever. The fact is, however, the brain can repair itself, and as science is now proving, there is real benefit to simple practices that can help keep our brain sharp and elastic throughout our lifetimes. And as we continue to go through the article, it points out how the field of cognitive neuroscience is relatively new, only around respectively 100 years. And so it's no surprise the article says that we are constantly arriving at a newer and better understanding of how the neural circuitry of the human brain supports overall brain functioning. And it goes on to talk about how for most of those 100 years that this particular discipline has been around, it was believed that once damaged, the brain could not regenerate. Brain cells were finite, and any loss or injury would be suffered as a deficiency for the rest of that person's life. This created a false belief that the brain is essentially in a perpetual state of decline. And of course, if that were true, you would think that people would be, their brains and their mind, their capacity to function would degenerate as they get older. And although there are many people who do suffer from Alzheimer's and dementia, there are many older people that don't. So if this was true about the brain, then there would be many, many, many more people would suffer severe decline in their mental functions. Now it talks about the brain. The article is going to talk about how the brain being elastic. It says the growth of new neurons in an adult mammalian brain was first seen in 1992 when scientists isolated neural stem cells from mice in a petri dish. This regeneration was then replicated thousands of times in a variety of published studies over the next 25 years. It is now accepted in the medical scientific community. The article says that the adult brain is capable of growing new neurons and glial cells, something previously disbelieved by the medical establishment. The brain is now considered to be resilient, pliable, plastic. And so the term neuroplasticity refers to the ability of the brain to rewire itself through practice of a desired skill. And it says it is a combination of new cells and new learning that creates this magic. When fresh nerve cells are well stimulated, trained through specific learning exercises, they make new connections. In other words, they become healthy brain cells that contribute to learning and the development of new skills. And then the article goes on to point out, just like the muscles of the body, when the brain is well nourished and stimulated through proper exercise, it heals and it grows. And with proper care and feeding, this amazing brain regeneration can occur throughout life. So now, I like the recommendations just given in this article, and also the science helps us see how it actually benefits our brains. So let's look at number one. It says get lots of physical exercise. When you hear the phrase train your brain, you probably think it says of lifting weights, but actually, as the article points out, exercise actually benefits the brain significantly. And the article points out that this benefit is at least twofold. At first, the brain is a voracious consumer of glucose and oxygen with no ability to store excess for later use. So as a result, it needs a continuous supply of these nutrients because it needs to be able to function without being able to, because it can't store, it can't store the glucose, so it needs a continuous supply of these nutrients. So physical exercise increases the blood flow to the brain, the article says, delivering a boost of fresh oxygen and glucose to hungry brain cells. And it cites a 2014 study which showed that just 30 minutes of moderate cardio was enough to boost cognitive functioning in adult brains of all ages. So think about it. It's not a lot. 30 minutes daily. I would recommend that you do at least 30 minutes daily. I would say 30 to 45 to start off. Start off with 30 and work your way up to 45 to an hour, at least an hour a day. And you can help boost your cognitive capacity in adults' brains of all ages. It says, and then the article goes on to point out further how exercise is believed to stimulate the hippocampal neurogenesis, or rather to stimulate hippocampal neurogenesis. New cell, it goes on to say the article goes on to say new cell growth in the region of the brain associated with long-term memory and emotion. That's pretty much what hippocampal neurogenesis is. That's the ability to stimulate new cell growth in the region of the brain associated with long-term memory and emotions. Healthy cell growth, the article goes on to say, and this region is important to the aging brain and believed to help prevent cognitive decline associated with Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Also, they don't mention it there, but also it mentions it later on in the article. Then it also, number two, it talks about when we want to help strengthen our brain, is managing our stress. Of course, it talks about how our modern world runs on stress, so we need to unwind to be able to and to be able to relax. But the article says what you might not be aware of is just how damaging continual immersion in the fight or flight hormone of stress can be to your brain. It says stress is one of the top factors in age-related cognitive decline. This makes engaging in regularly scheduled leisure activities not just a fun thing to do, but an important step towards ensuring optimal brain health. In other words, you can't, even if you have a job that is very stressful and you need to make money, you have to remember, you can't just go headlong and continual and such stress that it puts your body in the fight or flight mode. This can be very damaging to the brain. And so the article goes on to point out you need to just relax. Make sure you set aside time every day to do something that you enjoy, something that's leisurely, to take your brain from being constantly stressed out. And the article goes on to point out that the key to picking brain healthy pastimes is to avoid passive activities like watching TV, and instead choose stimulating hobbies that engage the brain through patterns, puzzles, and problem solving. Then it cites a 2011 study published in the Journal of Neuropsychiatry, and it found that activities such as playing games, reading books, and crafts like quilting and knitting reduce rates of cognitive impairment by up to 50%. That's very significant. That was in a 2011 study, again, published in the Journal of Neuropsychiatry. So again, just watching TV, which is a passive activity, does nothing to help the brain in the context in which we're talking. It needs to be something that the brain is engaging in. The article goes on to say, engaging with art also ranks high on the list of brain healthy hobbies. Studies prove that once again, it's not enough to be a passive observer. To get the brain boost, we must engage. Then it's like a German study that was reported in the journal PLOS1, where researchers studied two groups, a group who observed art and a group that produced art. The study concluded that compared to those who observed art, the art producers actually demonstrated increased interactivity between the frontal and the parietal cortices of the brain. This increased brain connectivity translates to enhanced psychological resilience in the group of art producers. In other words, the article says their ability to resist the negative effects of stress improved because they were actually engaging their brain. Finally, it says looking for a more low-way key to unwind. One way you can do that is by playing beautiful music or sitting in quiet contemplation, meditation. Now, I've talked about meditation in passing before. There are different types of meditation. Make sure that you meditate. Don't just clear your mind and don't think of anything. That's not healthy. Meditate on things that are good, that are righteous, that are soothing. And then it goes on to point out here how meditation has been shown to lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation, and even build resistance to feelings of anxiety and depression. Uh, and it goes on to say, while listening to music may seem like a passive activity, research suggests that the act of listening to musical pattern actually facilitates brain neurogenesis. This I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now. I'm going to go a little bit longer in this presentation than normal 5 to 7 minutes, because I think this is very important and it's quick wellness news nugget. This is a very important topic. I don't want to go too much longer. 3 is take strategic supplements, and one of the ones that points out here is turmeric. Again, one of my favorite supplements, herb, and talks about how turmeric is an example of a remyelinating compound. In other words, I won't get into that too much. I don't want to talk about the myelin sheaths that are around the spinal cord, and etc. But to keep it short and sweet, you can go and read the entire article here. So it's not to drag this out too much further. Turmeric is a strategic supplement that actually can help with the myelin sheath that are around. Well, let me read this really quick. It says remyelinating compounds work to repair the protective sheath around the nerve bundle known as the myelin, an area often damaged in autoimmune vaccine-induced disorders. Research shows that even small doses of these restorative substances can produce significant nerve regeneration. So again, you have certain substances like turmeric that can help repair the myelin sheath, which has been destroyed or hindered by inflammation. And so again, curcumin is one of those things that can help. And it talks about a particular compound found in turmeric. So that's what curcumin is, the main active ingredient in turmeric. And so it says in an exciting study published in the journal Stem Cell Research and Therapy, researchers found that a little known component within turmeric, or turmeron, may make a promising candidate to support regeneration in neurologic disease. The study found that when brain cells are exposed to R-turmeron, which is in turmeric, neural stem cells increased in number and complexity, indicating a healing effect was taking place. This effect was replicated in rats who, when exposed to R-turmeron, saw increased neural stem cell production and the generation of healthy new brain cells. It mentions green tea. It also mentions ginkgo biloba, which many of you, I'm sure you've heard of. Ginkgo biloba has been used for a long time as a brain herb. I'll go over this really quickly. It's considered a powerhouse in herbal medicine for the brain. It also says that ginkgo has demonstrated at least 50 distinct health benefits, and its medicinal value is documented in the treatment of more than 100 different diseases. There are numerous studies of ginkgo's ability to stimulate levels of critical brain protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. The protein affects healing in damaged regions of the brain and is essential in the regulation, growth, and survival of brain cells, making it especially important for long-term memory. It goes on to point out further how ginkgo is so effective that a 2006 paper published in the European Journal of Neurology found it to be as useful in the treatment of Alzheimer's disease as the blockbuster drug Donepezil. And so again, I don't have the time to go into much more detail about that, but these last two, eat your veggies. Now, that's very important. I'm a big believer that your supplements are to supplement a good diet. Of course, I encourage a plant-based or vegan diet. This article points out, it asks a question. It says, want to stimulate brain cells regrowth while you're having lunch? Add some freshly steamed broccoli to your plate. Science has added a substance called, broccoli is one of those vegetables that are rich in sulfur. And so, as this article points out, there was a study published in the journal Neurogenesis which revealed that these sulfur-producing vegetables like broccoli actually can help stimulate new nerve growth, and they have demonstrated significant healing properties as an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent. So again, eating your vegetables, eating your fruits, vegetables, they will actually help reduce inflammation, which will help protect the central nervous system, especially your brain. This article goes on to say, adding to the excitement surrounding these findings, researchers observed the beneficial effect on neural stem cells that result in the differentiation to specific useful types of neurons, lending powerful support to the hypotheses that basically these sulfur-producing fruits and vegetables actually can stimulate brain repair. And some of these vegetables include broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, horseradish, kale, mustard leaves, radish, turnips, watercress, and bok choy. Uh, and it says for therapeutic benefit, try to consume at least 3 cups per day, raw or cooked. Also talks about employ continuous learning. Again, keep the brain engaged. Keep the brain engaged. The older you get, even in your 60s, 70s, 80s, keep learning. Do things to stimulate the brain. This will keep the brain strong. It will help prevent going into dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. when you combine all of these things. And so again, you can go and read the entire article. I'm over my time significantly, I think. And this again, it's found at greenbayinfo.health. Brain regeneration, why it's real and how to do it. I tried to give you a quick synopsis as best as I could. This went almost double the time that I normally go, but I think it was important that this article be taken into consideration. Thank you and have a blessed day.